Caliente podcast begins now. Very Caliente, and today's show is sponsored by the color pink because Jenny's rocking the pink, and our guest is going to be in pink also. I am Pablo Alsina. She is Jennie López. This is the Very Caliente podcast, and today another amazing, strong, powerful woman taking over the show. Jenny, do with the intro.
Yes, and I cannot wait. Tenemos una mujer multifacética, incredibly powerful. Not only she has over 20 years of experience in corporate with her own business, CEO of Latina Chief. She's an avid tennis player, and I know you're going to enjoy that, Pablo, because you love sports. She's a mom, she's an author, she's a speaker. Lizette Ibarra, welcome to Very Caliente.
Hi, Pablo. Hi, Jenny. I'm so happy to be here. And yes, we got the pink memo, Pablo. You didn't get it.
I obviously did not. If not, I would have put on my little pink beret. Lisette, thank you for being here. Tell us all about Latina Chief, because I really like this. I thought when I first heard it, I thought Latina Chef. Are you a cook? No, Latina Chief. Tell everyone about this amazing company of yours.
Of course. I'm also a chef, but that's another story.
Oh, love it.
You didn't know that, Jenny. Okay, so yeah, Latina Chief is an executive search company. Basically, we help corporations find the right talent at the leadership level when they need it. And we have a strong focus on multicultural talent, meaning we help a lot of companies from Latin America that are growing into the States. We help them find that specific talent that they need, that they're not only bilingual, but that they understand, the differences, the nuances between the Hispanic and the US culture. And the other way around, we help US companies growing into Mexico and Latin America to find the talent that they need to keep, growing their businesses and for the continuity of their company. So that's basically what we do at Latina Chief.
I love that, Lizette. Maybe you can remember the time that you said, this whole thing about equity and leadership is very important to me. When was the time that it went from something that it was important to no, this is my mission now?
Of course, yeah, and that's a great question, because that's actually how a lot of people ask me, why Latina Chief? So I founded the company 6 years ago, when companies, they not only started to realize, but they really got intentional about increasing Latino representation and minority representation in leadership. So that's why it made a lot of sense to me, because I'm an immigrant into the US. I know how it is to get in here, to get to some rooms where nobody looks like you. And that is difficult. But I also know that I know my culture so well, and that I can help companies, translate that knowledge into business. So that's where the realization came in. And I said, I need to do something super intentional. I'd spent my first 10 years in corporate, then the next 15 into executive search, but, broad executive search, doing, industry agnostic. And I said, I'm going to go full mode on this because, Latinos, and you guys know this, we are the largest minority in the US. We represent $4 trillion in purchasing power. So it's not, a secret that companies that are not talking to the Hispanic consumer, they're leaving money on the table. So that's where, it made a lot of sense. And I decided to go full mode. And on the other part, and you might say, why Latina Chief? Why not Latino Chief? Because I'm a strong advocate for women in leadership. I know as a woman how hard it is to get, to the top, how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. So yes, I'm all about, seeing more women succeed, about seeing more Latinos in leadership in the US. So yeah, that's what the company is about.
I was actually going to follow up on that question, because Latina Chief, so you specialize on just women. So even me, Pablo Alsina, who speaks English, speaks Spanish, I'm Latino. If I wanted to go to Lizette, give me a job. Would you say, no, I'm exclusively Latina?
No, it's not exclusively Latina. No, it's because, in Mexico and Latin America, our work focuses on increasing women representation. And here in the US is multiculturalism. So what we do is we find the best talent, but we also always make sure talent pools are inclusive. And inclusion might mean different things for different companies, right? So for some companies that are heavily populated, in women, uh, inclusion might mean, bringing more men into the leadership landscape. So
True.
it's different for everybody. So no,
Oh,
the
nice.
answer is no. We find the best and the brightest, but always making sure our talent pools are inclusive.
So men and women. So you
Of
work for
course.
both. So in case men are watching, they can also
Yes.
reach out to you and
Yes.
Latina Chief. That is awesome. I love that. Now I'm back into it.
Send
That
me your
is
resume, Pablo.
That's incredible. Lizette, you bring something so important. You mentioned one of the statistics, right, from a Latino and Latina here in the US. Tell me, in this current environment, because many companies have shy away from this whole thing about diversity, even
Yeah.
though this whole thing about inclusion and equity is extremely important.
Mm.
How do you navigate? What lessons have you learned as a leader, right, the business owner in this environment?
I think the lessons are the same, but one very important lesson is the power we have as a consumer. Because
Mm.
when we saw the rise of diversity and inclusion, we saw a lot of companies pledging to increase Hispanic representation, Black representation, like bringing more minorities into leadership roles. But then when things started to shift a little, a lot of these companies back down. And to me,
Mm.
that spoke volumes of this is a work, and this is a conviction. You have to truly understand that inclusion is about bringing the lenses you don't have in your company, so you can see a broader scape, and bringing in more clients and talking to your broader client base. So it's very simple to me. If you don't have an inclusive strategy in your company, you're leaving money on the table, whether that's you're not talking to the Hispanic community, you're not talking to the Black community, to whatever minority is not represented, you're missing big time on that consumer. And again, the lesson is, us as consumers, we have a lot of power, because honestly, a lot of these companies that pledge to increase Latino representation and then they back down, is like, yeah, I'm not giving you my money or my love because you didn't stay with us. So that's the other part of the story. And I think, understanding the power we have as consumers is really,
Hmm.
really important.
Yeah, and broader, not just for the United States, but for the whole
Of
world.
course.
True.
Business is for everything. And I believe
Yeah.
you chose the perfect city for your company. You're in Miami, which is where I'm from. I lived in Miami my whole life. So I ironically moved to Mexico, where you're from, and then to LA, where I am now. But talk to me about how Miami, being that hub of so many different Latino or Hispanic countries, we're all so different. And lots of times in the mainstream media, they try to label us as just one thing. But no, Mexican is different than Venezuelan, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia. You can go on and on and on and on. Talk about how Latina Chief uses the city of Miami to help these people just see the Latinos in general as more than what they try to label us or pigeonhole us as normal.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love that, because to me, Miami is the perfect melting pot of Hispanic culture. Even, as I'm Mexican, so I'm used to be the largest minority in the U.S. Like if I go to Texas, if I go to California, everybody's Mexican. Here in Miami, I'm the minority. Like,
True.
there's a lot of Venezuelans, and it's so funny, because after 13 years of living here, I can even recognize the different accents, and that is so beautiful. We have so many different words for the same thing. It's a learning process. It's not that
Mhm.
we just all speak Spanish, but the differences, that how our different cultures makes us richer. I love that. And of course, as a company, I've used that melting pot to really showcase and portray how the Hispanic culture can enrich every environment, and that we add to the communities. We do not take away from communities, we add to communities. So I didn't come here intentionally. I have to say, I moved here because my husband was transferred here to Miami, but it was
Mm.
the perfect spot for us. And I
Amazing.
love it so much. I love it here. And like, this is what I call home now. I go back to Mexico and I love it there too. But when I get back here, it's like, oh my gosh, I love my Colombian accent. And, it's too cute. I love it here.
Oh my gosh. Lizette, there's so many different questions that we can be here for a whole hour. I'm going to go to your author career, and then I'm going to leave the sports to Pablo because he's an expert on that, and I know that's deep in his heart. So let's talk about transitions. That's your most recent book, correct?
Yeah, right. Correct.
Congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
one. I love transitions too. I think both of us have transitioned from corporate to business owners. I had many transitions before in corporate, job transitions, role transitions. What do you think is a myth that people out there still have about transitioning that is keeping them stuck in where it's comfortable versus
Yeah.
going through a transition to see what is on the other side?
Yeah, no, I love that topic. Of course, I wrote a book. It's a reflection, an art book. And to me, the reason why I wanted to write this book, Jen, is because of that misconception. So many times
Mm,
we find ourselves at crossroads in our
mm,
careers, in our personal lives. And then life is full of transitions. Life is not linear, life is not flat. So when we are not prepared in our mindsets to
mm.
encounter these transitions, then the immediate mindset is, why is this happening to me?
Ooh.
Why is it? And we suffer and we go through these transitions, even the exciting ones, like probably a promotion, but that's going to make you nervous because it's a big stretch, or relocating to a new city, to a new country. That's a good transition, but it's also stressful. So what I wanted to do with this book was talk about transitions from a different perspective. Is transitions are happening for me, and that totally
Mm,
changes
love that.
how you manage that transition, because even when you're going through them, and some of these transitions might be difficult at the end of the day, and sometimes it's years after, you totally understand why those transitions happened for you, and almost
Mm,
every single time they were meant for you to end up at a better place. And you know very well, life transition from corporate to being an entrepreneur. Even in my entrepreneur journey, when I moved to the States, I had to decide to sell my first business, and that was brutal. That was
mm.
very difficult for me, but I had to adjust to the new environment. So after all of these transitions that I went through in my first 20 years of career, it, everything clicked in, and I said, yeah, these transitions happened for me. It took me a
Ooh.
long time to realize. So this book basically compiles different transitions, different scenarios in life that you can go through, and how you can approach them from a different mindset. So that is a topic that I love. And in my profession as an executive search consultant, I've had the opportunity to talk, to interview, not probably, thousands of people, thousands.
I
And
bet.
that blessing, that ability to be able to touch lives in that way, it's such a blessing for me. And that also inspired me in so many ways to write this book.
Amazing. Where can
Let's
people
bless.
find that book? Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, exactly. Where can we find the book and say it
yeah,
again? Because I didn't read it.
Amazon, and please write a
Amazon.
review if you like it. Yeah, Amazon.
Love it.
Amazon. So they search Transitions by Lisette Ibarra.
Transitions by Lizette Ibarra, and then you'll be able to find it.
Awesome. You said you blessed so many people. You've had so many interviews. I believe I'm excellent working, and I'm excellent like in interviews. But lots of times you walk out of the interview, you're like, whoa, why did I say that? I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have brought this up. So what of your thousands of interviews, what would be like, give us like your top couple of advice that you can give somebody walking into that life-changing interview, put them in this awesome mindset, Lisette Ibarra, after all your years and your thousands of interviews. Help us out.
Yeah, I think it's two things. You have to be super prepared. You cannot come to an interview or a conversation of where you're trying to scale to a different role, or another company unprepared. Like, at least I would expect you to have done deep research into the company. At least my company, Latina Chief. What do we do? What are our specialties? Right? Like, come prepared. Whatever that means to you. And with all the access we have to information nowadays, there's no excuses to come and ask, oh, what do you guys do? What does your client company do? No excuses. That
True.
on one part. Second part, you have to come super prepared in regards to your experience. I get to speak to people that has been, in the professional world for 20, 25, 30 years. That's a lot of experience. You have to be able to comprise that expertise, because the very first question I'm going to ask you is to walk me through the progression of your career in 7 minutes or 10 minutes. That's tough. That's not easy, right? So you have to be super clear about the aspects of your career that you want to highlight in just a few minutes. And the last things that I would say, and this is something that I always ask in an interview, and a lot of people are not ready for this question, because we spend a lot of time during the interview talking about the accomplishments. What went well in your career? What did you accomplish at XJC company, right? But then I ask, tell me something that went terribly bad, like awful, and that was your decision. And a lot of times people freeze. It's like, what? Aren't we here to talk? No. And you know what I'm looking there? Self-awareness. I think it's such an important life skill. Self-awareness. Who is perfect? Nobody's I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm looking for that self-awareness to say, hey, I think I didn't, make the right decision here. How am I going to pivot? What did I learn from that experience? Right? So that's one question. That's my secret. So that's one question that I always get to ask. And I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to think about it, but you need to be prepared to answer, like, not only what went well, what you're really good at, but your self-awareness moments. What are some of the areas that you'd like to improve, that you can still improve in your
I love that. And Lizette is also, everything that she's saying, she does what she preaches. Because I remember Lizette and I have had the opportunity to do a couple of different segments or shows together, and she's always prepared. Statistics, numbers, she's so ready, and I do appreciate that from you, Lizette. Let's talk about Lizette. So we talked about Lizette, the entrepreneur, the corporate leader, talent acquisition, author. What about Lizette, the tennis player? You're an avid tennis player. And what I love is because you don't see a lot of high professionals out there also sharing the other side of the coin. Like, for example, I love to dance, and I show that. But you're very proud of that, and actually want to also empower, right, for people to showcase all their authentic side. So tell us about Lizette, the avid tennis player, and what's your mission on that?
Oh, don't get me started on that, Jenny. I can talk for hours and
I
hours.
know.
Yeah, no, I know it begins, when I was little, I wanted to be a professional tennis player. And growing up in Mexico, tennis was for the rich and famous, and, for people that had access to the country club, and that was not me. So anyways, I had to play. I'm always been like a sporty person. I love sports. I love activities. So long story short, I never got to play tennis. I moved to Miami 13 years ago at the age of 40. Don't guess numbers here. So, and I see tennis
13
sports.
years ago. So 13 years ago. So you moved to Miami when you were 11.
That's right. You got your numbers wrong.
Exactly. I'm great at math. She moved to Miami at 11. So go on, Lisa.
So when I moved here, I saw all these tennis courts, and I was like, damn, I need to play tennis. I don't care. So I went to Walmart and got myself a tennis racket and hired myself a tennis coach, because I was already an entrepreneur. I was making a lot, and like, I don't care. I'm going to learn to play tennis. So I started like knowing nothing about tennis. Like my first matches, I couldn't even keep the score because I couldn't. It was bad. It was like really, really bad. But I loved it so much. So 13 years in, I'm an advanced tennis player. I'm proud of that. I'm gonna say I was just moved to the next level, and I've been so involved in the sport, not only as a player but as a team captain. I've led, and that has taught me a lot about leadership as well, because I need to strategize. I need to see, the next match, it's against this team. They're really good. Which players I'm gonna pick, right? So I put together. I have to keep them motivated. So I've gotten my teams, to win local leagues, and state leagues. We've competed at the national level.
Awesome.
So tennis just brings so much joy to my life that I wanted to make it contagious to everybody else. So I have a small initiative called the HEPA Way Society, which is built around tennis, and it's built for women, mid-age women, to motivate them to get out there, whatever that is. Find your passion. Whether for me it's tennis, for you, Jennie, it's dance. What is it for you that moves you? Like, to me, if it's a day that I'm going to play tennis, I get up in the morning, I'm like, okay, bring it on. Today's the day that I'm going to play tennis. But only if you get to experience that passion for a sport. It can also be art. It can be whatever, makes you feel this joy. It is very hard to put in words, but I could spend hours and hours a day playing tennis. It's pure joy. It's joy. That's it.
Yeah, the beauty about tennis and you saying all that, Lizette, 1, exercise, 2, being out in the sun, 3, competition, even if it's just a local league, even if it's against your friend, that activates your adrenaline, it activates your nerves. And then the beauty about tennis, it's kind of like life. You lose a point, so what? There's another point a second later. Same thing with life. You have a bad day. Hey, there's a second day, a day later. So Lizette, what closing thoughts to inspire us? You've talked about tennis, about work and everything. Just one final closing thought for the Latino out there that wants to thrive in life, in their careers. Close us out with some of your amazing inspirational words.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? I mean, whatever, gives you joy and happiness, get out there and do it. Try different things. I have this kind of damn it mentality. Damn it, I'm gonna try it. And sometimes there's so much things in life that we want to try, and we just don't do it because we fear we're gonna fail. But if you don't even try it, you're gonna fail anyway. You're not there. So give yourself a chance. Grab the courage, to try different things and go for it. It sounds cliche, but a lot of people just stay there and they don't go after their dreams. They don't go after their passion. Just go, live life. Life is like a movie. You have so many parts that you can play them, all of them, all the characters you want to be in life. You can beat them at the same time. So get out there and enjoy.
Amazing. Lizette, where can people find you before we close the show?
Okay, so you can find me. I spend most of the time on LinkedIn. So Lizette Ibarra with Latina Chief on LinkedIn, also on Instagram, Ibarra16, La Jefa. And those are the main, social media handles where you can find me.
Amazing.
Awesome. Hey, next time I'm in Miami, I'll find out if you have a tennis match going on. We'll play mixed doubles.
There you go. Mix is my specialty.
I'll be your cheerleader. Yeah, I'll be like, yay. Amazing. Thank you, Lizette Ibarra. It's been such a pleasure to have you in the program. I love to bring different people that are so successful in many different dimensions of life. Amazing. Pablo, do you want to close the show?
Let's close it out. We can call this ending the bald and the beautiful, because here I am with my bald head, my beautiful guest to the side, the one and only Jennie López, my co-host. Thank you so much, Lizette Ibarra. You've been awesome. I am Pablo Alsina, and this has been Very Caliente.
Very hot, very caliente.